Here we go. Preparing to live stream the meeting. Probably people seeing us already, but we don't see you yet. Bear with me. Now I see us. Fantastic. Okay. Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolé Gabrielle from Elevated Planet. And we'd like to welcome you to today's show. And John is going to tell us a little more about it.
Yeah, for sure. So, Jolé, I am very envious of I have your background than my background here back in the UK, where we're sort of like having not quite such a typical summer of about 14 degrees centigrade, which is probably low 60s or something like that. And there you are, Palm Springs.
Yes, yes. Palm Springs is beautiful as always. It's having a heat wave, but that doesn't mean I love a good heat wave. It's the cold fronts I don't like.
It's probably just as well we're doing it at 8 a.m. Pacific anyway, right? So,
Beautiful. It is beautiful. It's probably like maybe 90 degrees right now.
yeah, right. Okay.
So,
I hope to be there later in the day, but yeah.
come on over.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love that backdrop. I remember many a happy time spent over in the Palm Springs, Palm Desert, La Quinta
Yes,
kind of area.
it
Beautiful.
is. It's very nice, I must say. I'm
Hmm.
very grateful to be here.
Wonderful. Okay. So what we are talking about today is going to be a real fun show today. And just looking down our invitation, the questions we are looking into, the points that we're going to cover. Ancient indigenous prophecy from around the world is playing out now. The Mayans knew this as the end times, but what does that mean? Humanity faces a choice, and each person gets to choose their direction. A consciousness metamorphosis is underway for those who are ready to embrace it. Two trains are leaving the station on a journey to fulfill personal destiny. There is no going back, so importantly, what are the choices? Which train will you choose? And where is platform 10 and 3/4 anyway? Okay, so they're the things that we are going to be covering off for you today, amongst many other things. And today we've got one of our special guests of the day is Pam Gregory, who is a British astrologer, and she is fantastic. Really very much into Pam's work. And by way of introduction, I know we have featured her work a couple of times already in the past few months, but one of the things I want to do with this now is to just give you our initial little soundbite intro, which covers about a minute or so. So if you bear with me a second, I will do a screen share.
You know, we typically think of a revolution as being very loud, with lots of billboards and shouting and potentially quite violent and clashing. It's not like that at all. It's from the heart, and that the force of our love, our electromagnetic heart love, becomes like a tsunami. It becomes so powerful that we come together in coherence, that because it's so high frequency, it changes the quantum wave structure for what we are attracting in our future. And that's happening already. That's unstoppable. I mean, there's no way anybody can stop that. And therefore, the old that you would have protested about in the old way just falls away, it just crumbles, because there's no energy to it. Who we are as humans, who we are as humanity, I think that's going to come as quite a shock, that we are way more powerful than we ever believed, we've ever been encouraged to believe. That I think is going to be one of the biggest shocks, that all that we've ever understood to be true historically may not have been the case.
Hey, first little stopping point there. Now, you know, everything that Pam says there, I totally believe to be true. You know, this is all about a time of, unity consciousness coming to the surface. This is a time of heart-based consciousness. It's a time where the fighting stops. And there's a reason why the fighting will stop. and it's up to us to make a difference. And there is a way that we can do this, which taps into that thing that that Pam was talking about, is the realization of how powerful we each are. We've been sold this story for thousands of years that we're separate, that we have to rely on others for guidance, for laws, for everything in life. And that's kind of how we have believed life to be. But times are changing. And this is actually triggering this is a new cycle. There's a new cycle. And it comes back to this Mayan thing. And I'm not going to really touch deep onto that until we've gone through this little stretch of videos. Because that's where we open up the whole field to this. So, Jolé, would you like to add anything before we dive into the next section?
Yes, unity consciousness is something that is really what is going to help us elevate this planet. And some people may think of it as selflessness or a lack of selfishness. But when you want to have unity consciousness, as always, I just want to remind people, it starts with you unifying yourself, mind, body, and spirit, and you getting all of you on board to up health and wellness and connection. So don't think, well, how do I have to help? It's an inside job. And then it naturally comes forth from you.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And it's well said, because it is an inside job, which means that you individually have power and sovereignty over yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to impose yourself on others. That's not what it's about, because everybody has that sovereign power for themselves. And it's realizing that we have that. Okay, thank you, Jolé. Right, we're going to carry on with the next little share screen exercise, and bear with me. Here we go.
Pluto is power. It's the shift of power from top-down structures to the people. Now, it won't happen in a day, a month, a week, but over time, that is our direction of travel. That's where we're headed. Look at the French Revolution. Peasants stormed in, monarch was executed, beheaded, and France became a republic. Massive, and that's the last time Pluto was in Aquarius. Massive shift of power from rich autocratic monarchy, gold everywhere, peasants couldn't afford to buy bread, to it becoming a republic, and ordinary people having legal status. That became the foundation of democracy for Europe. So this is what we're going through again, globally, but particularly for the US because of the Pluto return in the US.
Okay, I'm just going to put a brief pause on that. I'm not going to switch around screens here, because just what I wanted to sort of say there is that this Pluto return, as I say, Pam Gregory is an extraordinary astrologer. And this Pluto return thing is very interesting, because it's the way that the line divides across America, and it goes straight through the heart of Texas. So Pam has been saying, and not just Pam, but multitude of people have been saying, that the US is going to come under increasing pressure. During the course of this year, things are going to start to change. And there could well be some focus around Texas about that, how that plays out. So we will see. But, if last time the Pluto return took place, because it's a 248-year cycle for Pluto to come round again. And last time it took place, obviously, the French Revolution and beheading of monarchs. So King Charles might be a little bit restless at this point in time. But we will see. I don't think it necessarily means that there has to be an exact replication of the past. But nevertheless, we will see where that takes us. Jolé, anything to add?
I think it's up to us. We don't have to have some type of calamitous, guillotine, beheading, during this time period. It's really based on us and how we comport ourselves, because just like it's a chain, it's a link where we talk about being interconnected. So once again, I just want to stress to, work on you and your environment, especially at the local level, to make a difference. And that way things reverberate out, because there's only so much we can do as individuals. That's why it's so important to start where you are and then expand in what I believe works well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, I think in the first little section that Pam was talking about, she was talking about this being a revolution, which is kind of, a revolution which is different. This is a revolution of the heart. This isn't a revolution of destruction. So, there is an awful lot of positive within this. But let's crack on. Let's do the next little section.
Oh, I was just going to add one thing, though. Just with love and the heart chakra, we have, sorry about that.
No, it's all right. You keep going.
No, I just wanted to say that, like love is easy. Like, in relationships, it may look a certain way, but it's the creator within you manifesting all the positivities that is around. And so she's right. There's no need for destruction, especially when you're coming in from the heart. And so really people go, what is the heart? How do I get there? It's just, how do you feel? Instead of thinking your way out of things, try and feel in a calm way. Like John, you talk about how you don't want something, you become it, you are it. And so by becoming and being love, you're automatically going to start to shift things in your environment. Okay, so
I love
just
that.
my
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. I'll just rewind that back a little tiny bit, and we are back on our way again. Thank you, Jolé.
Is this why a show like this is getting the reaction that it is now and wouldn't have gotten the same reaction 10 years ago?
100%.
I say that all the time on the show. I go, this show doesn't make sense 10 years ago. I mean, we might have had a few people listen, but we wouldn't have millions of people watching shows like this. And not just in our field, in other fields as well, from quantum physics to other shows that are talking about things that are not in the old, but are looking towards the new. And this is only going to ramp up, is what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. It's about truth, honesty, openness, the alternative, the meld of science and spirituality with great people like Nassim Harriman and Gregg Braden and all these wonderful people. It is about people discovering their sovereignty, rediscovering their sovereignty, and saying, I know I have the power to come together with other people and co-create a better world than this. And you are a big part, Alex, of that service to humanity, to give people a platform to help them create a better world than this. And I set up this, incredibly simple idea of a 15-minute meditation on the Sunday evening. No tech, no Zoom links, no recordings. We just come together energetically. Imagine we're holding hands and connecting with our hearts. Feel love, feel joy, feel compassion, feel peace, gratitude, freedom. The visions, the experiences people are having is incredible. And I know we are changing the quantum wave structure. We are changing the future timeline for humanity. And loads of people are doing these meditations. I'm not special in doing that. But each of us are playing our part, particularly when you come together on a platform like yours or in a group. The energy is magnified as a group. You become a kind of family of frequency to really amplify the energy to say, we want a more loving world than this, a more equal world, a more caring world, a more abundant world, where animals are loved and respected, all of it.
So you were just saying that for the moment, it seems like we're pulling back just a little bit.
September to November.
This September to November, we're going to be pulling back a little bit.
It will
just
appear.
A second.
It will appear.
It will appear. It will appear. And then it's just going to go off like a rocket ship into another.
Yeah, and it will be volatile, particularly for the US. It will be volatile because your election is so particularly polarized. But it will also bring up any corruption that is not for our highest good. It will reveal that. So it's the analogy. It's got to you've got to smash out the old kitchen cupboards before you can put in the new ones. An analogy I've often used is, imagine you're going to the theatre and you become aware that the whole script, the whole narrative of the play is not hanging together. People just aren't believing it anymore. So the actors are talking louder and louder and louder to kind of say, no, this is real and we're in control of this script and it's all fine. But the audience are sussing it. They're all saying, yeah, I'm not buying this anymore. I'm not buying it anymore. And eventually the scenery is starting to collapse. So I see the second half of the year as the scenery really starting to collapse and the audience saying, I'm not buying any of this. I'm leaving the theatre.
Cool.
Okay. So a little pause there. I just wanted to say hi to Michelle as well. We got Michelle on the line from over in the good old US of A. Michelle is very much working in our line of work as well, I know. So it's great to have you with us, Michelle. But yeah, this idea that the scenery is starting to fall down around us as if we're in this play. And this is an analogy that we've used relatively frequently. It's like the game of life or Earth as a play. And many people have spoken about it. And we focused on some of the near-death experiences where people were explaining what happened to them on the other side, and the way that they could look at this is that this was like an Earth play, and we were here to play out a role. And this world that has been created around us is not the world that we want to live in going forward, because of the wars, because of all the darkness that is out there, the political fighting that's going on. Is this really for the greater good? I don't think anybody could really fool themselves to say that it was. So we are seeing that scenery starting to fall down. People are not buying into the narrative anymore. And that is one of the things that was said by Alex Ferrari of Next Level Soul earlier on, is that the mainstream media thing, is people are taking his program more seriously than they are the news, right? Or they're getting an awful lot of attention now, which they wouldn't have got in the past. So this shows that there is an awakening going on, or more to the point, a remembering, because this is the interesting thing. I mean, I've been on this journey for over 6 years now, which is not long compared to the likes of Jolé, compared to the likes of many people. Gregg Braden, who's been doing this for about 40 odd years, and so many more who've been invested in this for decades. So I'm kind of a beginner, but I think that's important as well, because to me, one thing I do remember is what it's like to be living in a left brain world in the mainstream. That was the world that I lived in for 57, nearly 58 years before I even started to come over to this side and realize that life was much bigger and more expansive than I'd ever realized. So I was living and believing what I was seeing around me was the way that things should be. And as I have learned, as I have immersed myself in learning about, how this really operates, I find it fantastic. It really is so uplifting. And this idea of living from the heart, this heart-based consciousness kind of thing, is not difficult. It's just not what we've been taught. But so much of life, the way we've been encouraged to think about life, is false programming. That is why, as Pam says, we're starting to see the scenery starting to creak and fall over. The actors are becoming less convincing, the shouting louder, because they're trying to hold the thing together. But, now times are changing and we are starting to move to a new era. So, Jolé, what would you care to share with us?
You speak about your journey, and I'm so happy that your journey was one of choice, right? Because it's very, the expansion and the unfoldment comes at a time that's kind of peaceful. But for a lot of us, the reason why we stepped into this is because we struggled. We had a physical issue, a mental, emotional, or something that reached a critical mass, and we had to reach for another way out. And that's where this comes in. And it's the truth, as far as I know it. The heart opens, life starts to look differently, things start to resonate a little bit better. But I must say that I love, and I'm kind of envious of your journey, John, in that it was a choice that came to you at a time when things were okay. But for those of you out there that may struggle or that may have issues, dig deep. You know what I mean? Start to question. Like I was listening to you talk, John, and when the spirit talks to you, ask questions. That's how the spirit becomes I guess, engaged. And you don't, how do you ask the question? Because there's always a way to do everything. And when you start with the whys, stay away from the whys. The whys have died. The end of the age, like the astrologer talked about, it's over. It's time to step into something that is empowering. And that's what this new energy is all about, is stepping into something that empowers you and your individuality, and then allows for you to connect with others. And so I just kind of want to say that no matter where you are on your journey and no matter how you got there, it's really time to put down all of the negativity, the depression, the anxiety, and to really reach for and dig into that heart-based communication with yourself and others based on love and compassion, instead of all this processing of laws and rules and regulations. That's great. But at this stage, we should have mastery over those rules. It's time to break them, and it's time to create others with love.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a reason why there is an epidemic of depression out there. There's cancers and various other things, is because the world that we've been encouraged to believe is so far out of alignment that we fall out of alignment with who we're supposed to be.
Exactly.
And this is pulling us back into alignment.
Exactly. And that's beautiful. It's beautiful for those people who are mostly in alignment, because you kind of fall into this in a way that is graceful and easy. And for those of you that maybe have reached out for this because there's an issue, just keep digging, keep researching, but mostly keep excavating you. And what you want to do is get rid of the negativity. That's really where it all begins, the trauma, right? We have some trauma we didn't recognize, or somebody foisted upon us, but now it's your job to work it out. And the only way to transform it is with love.
Yeah, absolutely. They say there's kind of like two choices, really. There's that all emanate from two kind of sources. One is love and one is fear, right? So
That's correct.
so that's basically where we're heading. We're heading on the track to focus on the high frequency energies, and that is basically the opportunity that we have, and it is an opportunity that we all have. It's just understanding this. I mean, it was 6.5 years ago, no, 4.5 years ago, sorry, that I met Jolé for the first time, and had a fantastic reading with her. And it really made me think, wow, as I dig deeper into this world of spirituality, I want to be working with Jolé. So hence, I kind of like, fortunately, she never took out, fortunately, she never took out a restraining order. So we continued to work together. And here we are now. So I'm very grateful for that. The journey is only part way there. I'll never get to the destination. But honestly, what you discover is, as you work your way through this, it is so uplifting. It's so joyous. There's just no two ways about it. It's once you truly understand what life is about, you don't fight, you get away from depression, you get away from all that. Anyway,
One more thing, one more
yes.
thing I wanted to say based on that is that all of our programming is meant to keep us small. And it's like, once you step into your own power and you start to kind of critically think, that's all it really takes. Is like, if you really start to lift the lid off of some of these things you've been taught and you start to try and connect them, you'll see that they don't connect and that they're causing you dissonance. A thought process that keeps you immobile, depressed, and anxious. So to really step into loving yourself, like give yourself permission to feel safe in your own presence and to be in your body, is a great way to start.
Fantastic. Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Jolé. Thank you. Here we go. Next section.
So that's why traditional media, Hollywood, banks, religions, all of these institutions that have been around for so long are starting to show. I mean, I come from Hollywood, so I worked in the film industry for 30 years, and I've just seen the difference of how people are consuming it. People aren't buying the things that are coming out of Hollywood as much as they used to. They're going to alternative media sources. People don't even trust the news anymore because it's all partisan now. So they're looking at, I mean, Joe Rogan, who's got the biggest podcast in the world, much bigger than any of the news networks would kill for one episode of Joe Rogan's audience to watch their entire network for a day. It's insane.
So, but going back to what you just said, yeah, all of the top-down structures, religion, monarchy, banks, traditional media, Hollywood, anywhere where there is elitism and inequality over the coming months and years, the energy is leaving those structures and going to grassroots up, ordinary people, communities, collaboration, networks, local networks, global networks, farmers networks, growing food, linking information across the world, how to grow food better with electroculture or whatever it is. You know, I'm in a group of about 200 people, and we all do something different, but we are all helping to create a more loving world. And we're constantly sharing information from other groups in the UK, other groups across the world, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel on things like healing modalities or whatever it is. More and more people across the world are coming together to buy land, to grow food, to live on, to share information and care for each other. So less and less it's about a kind of, we're moving away from this, what I call material territorialism of this is mine and this is my bank account and this is my status and my title, you know, I'm director or CEO. Nobody cares anymore. You know, what COVID did was act as a boomerang for people just desperately wanting to connect as humanity. I mean, the people in my group are all ages, all backgrounds, all status, doesn't matter. We hug, we laugh, we're all human beings. So there was a real catapult effect with COVID. If we can just keep focusing on creating a beautiful new world, we're on the right track. Stay in love, stay in your heart, stay in kindness. If you go into fear, you're on another train track. It's a bifurcation happening right now. If you're in fear, if you're following the narrative, it's a very different future trajectory to staying in love and staying in your heart. And nobody forces you onto either one. You self-select depending on your frequency. So we can still see the other train at the moment, but as time goes on, we won't even see the train. I think we'll just forget our past. I think our past will go to dust.
Right. Okay. Quick pause. And yeah, so where we're going with this again, this is, I love this point about community, coming together as community over this idea of separation and materialism of the past. Separation and materialism is what we've been brought up to believe to be reality. And how is it driving things right now? Well, it's a mess. You know, I kind of know that as a baby boomer generation, I have certain advantages over the young people coming up through the world today on the basis that I lived in a time when you could actually get a job and afford to live. Whereas I know for those younger folks, I mean, my daughter who's 25, she's a professional. She has a career. She has a degree. She works for one of the world's biggest companies, and she can barely afford to put food on the table. In fact, you know, dad steps in to help a little, but the fact is that that's not what she wants. She wants to be independent. The fact is her and all her friends are in exactly the same boat. Now, it's a real struggle, and I know that that extends out across so many people, and it's not the way it's supposed to be. And I think, but there's a good thing to this, which is that none of this is by accident. This is to show us that there is a better way, and coming together as community over separation is part of this heart-based unity consciousness, which is what we are moving towards. Now, I understand that from a mainstream perspective, if I put my mainstream head on from 6 years ago, I don't get this. You know, to me, it's all about, you know, survival of the fittest. You get out there, you do your thing, you're in competition with the rest of the world. It's not the way it is. It's not the way it's going to be either. And this idea of the train tracks and the trains, as Pam alludes to, where there are two directions, right? You know, there's the one which is the fear-based, which is if you buy the narrative that is being fed to you through the mainstream media, through a lot of the time through social media, a lot of it's anger, division, hatred. There's a lot of that going on out there. And some people buy into this, and it's not surprising because it's been, again, the way that we've been led to believe. And some of it comes through religion, some of it comes through the major corporations, some of it comes through government, and some of it comes through darker forces that are actually pulling the strings behind all of that. But again, there's a reason for everything. It's kind of the dark gets darker so the light can get lighter, right? And we're in an era now where the light is shining brighter because the darkness is showing, the corruption is showing. And so therefore we start to see that there is a choice here. And if there's two trains leaving those tracks, you have to decide which one you want to be on. Do you go on the one which is the heart-based consciousness, or do you or are you stuck for that other train journey because you cannot get out of fear, or you feel the anger, you feel that the division energy, it's out there. And everybody does have their own choice. Nobody should be forced down. Everybody's where they're supposed to be. But if we're here to plant seeds and potentially, hopefully, to activate some people into being curious and researching things for themselves. Because as we often say, this is a time of using discretion to decide what your truth is going to be. Okay? Don't take our word for it. You have to do your own research. Absolutely, we're happy to put the energy out there. We're happy to put the knowledge out there. We're happy to put the wisdom out there as we see it. But again, it's up to each person individually to choose what is right for yourself, whether you're actually watching mainstream media or other things or listening to us. So, Jolé, what do you think?
I think you summed it up quite nicely. I do believe that, where we are is a very divine period, and that we have the opportunity to really step into something great, but we have to honor who we are, right? We have to honor and the way that the world is unfolding. And I think one of the ways that it happens easily is when we connect, not just with each other as humans, but with Mother Earth, with what goes on around us in our environment. And like I said, and she reiterated in the video, it's like, get involved locally, get involved in your community. And we think that this connection means selflessness. No, actually, when you're helping your community, when you're helping others, you're helping yourself, you're helping your environment. And we're really at the point where we've got to kind of kick into gear, because like you say, in America, this November, what's it going to look like? What does that mean for us as individuals here and as a collective? So, I'll reiterate one more time, the only thing that has the ability to transform is love.
Yeah.
So let's just love each other.
Yes.
The best that
absolutely.
we can, starting with ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. It's important. The Mother Earth thing there, as Jolé mentioned, is really a big part of this, and we will dig deeper into that as well. And as far as community is concerned, we have an elevated planet community for you here, right here. So, the more the merrier. Come and join us, and you can get on our train as well, because it's going to be a very nice train. So, anyway, moving on. Here we go. Next part.
So how do you explain to people what's happening now with all these wars?
Broadly, I would say it isn't the people who want the wars; it's the leaders who want the wars.
Oh yeah, of course.
As you know, because if we are in fear of all these terrible things happening, we're easier to manipulate.
Control. Mm-hmm.
So, and it is the polarization, the separation, the red, blue, Protestant, Catholic, whatever the split is, that has also been very much encouraged. So for me, and I say it often in my upgrades, as long as we, it's just unimaginably horrific what's happening to those people out there. I cannot imagine what they're going through in those war zones. But if we stay in that hamster wheel of war, death, suffering, poverty, disease, misery, we're not going to get out of the hamster wheel. So what I'm trying to do, and I'm very much a big fan of Buckminster Fuller, if you know of his work, he said, don't feed, don't even fight the old order. You go beyond and you create something so amazing. Everybody says, God, I want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of this. And you literally starve the energy from that old hamster wheel. You just starve it up because you give it no attention. Because then we really, start to use the quantum physics model. It's where you put your attention and energy that creates. Paul Levy, the Buddhist author, talks about your attention is your superhero power, because whatever you're putting on your attention on is literally food in the quantum world to activate and build, even if it's invisible right now, whatever you want to create. So if you starve out your attention on this, horrific as it is, but because it's so horrific, we can't go on doing it. We've got to create something way better, and we are completely able to do that, is by getting a lot of people, bringing humanity together, very Aquarian, to create a better world. And we're doing it quickly. And through your show, you're doing this. You're giving people a platform to speak truth and say, okay, we're going to create a new world based on these values, these principles, and that's our future. And you just starve out the attention on the old. Now, people say, well, that's incredibly careless. Well, it isn't actually. It's because of the horror that I want to create something better. Because if we go, and also if you think on a practical level, Alex, what can we practically do? Can we go and deliver aid to those areas? Well, a whole aid convoy were killed recently. It's very hard to do, to be on the ground delivering aid. Can we send money that will reliably get through to the people who need it? That's pretty dodgy too. It usually goes to the admin and the management often. So what can we do? Well, we can work energetically. That's what we can do. I mean, Lynn McTaggart is the queen of this. She has a tab called Evidence on her website with the evidence of what these meditations have actually done to stop violence in the Middle East in the past. When groups come together with clear intention and love, you can really start to change where we're headed. And that's where I'm at.
Fantastic. Okay. So that is the end of that little video clip there. And I think Pam makes such valid points there. And one of the things where she was talking about, we're going to create our new kind of environment. We're going to create this world for ourselves and realize part of that is stepping back into our power. And the wars and everything going on, there's a lot of distractions out there trying to take us away from our power. And as Jolé said earlier, it's all designed to keep us small. It's all designed to keep us from realizing how powerful we are. And when you do look at some of these horrific events that are going on in these wars, you can't help but feel compassion for these people. But the point that I added there in terms of the text that went under this was about life planning. When we come into this physical lifetime, we do so with a plan. Now, we don't know what that plan is, because as we get born, the veil of forgetfulness falls and we don't remember what our life plan is all about. But we have carefully planned. We choose who our parents are going to be. Our parents are part of this as well, because, it's interesting. I used an Einstein quote last week on the weekly, and it was about the fact that beyond the range of our senses, an entire world may well exist. The range of our senses is very small, right? All our 5 senses have very narrow ranges, because the reality is those actual parameters go way wider. So when you think about that logically, there can be absolutely a whole mass of things going on out there that we cannot see, that we cannot feel, that we cannot hear, touch, taste. But it doesn't mean it's not there. There's so many things around us that we accept as everyday life that we know we can't see, touch, smell, taste, whatever. It's radio signals and so many things. But this is what this relates to. So we come in here with a life plan, and we choose our parents, but we also choose where we are going to be born, whether there is likely to be hardship along the way. And there are selfless souls who've come in to go into war zones in the knowing that they are going to be in a very, very dreadful situation. But knowing that we are, in fact, eternal beings having a human experience, this is something for soul growth for them. Now, it doesn't mean that you feel any less compassion, because what they've made is a massive sacrifice. And how we can respond to that is by creating a world that no longer has that level of violence, anger, aggression. And how do you do it? You don't do it by fighting the old, because all that does is it makes your energies as dense as those who are creating the fighting in the first place. So there has to be a better way. And this is what Pam is talking about. She's talking about community. She's talking about heart-based, because this is one of the things. And I suppose if I talk briefly about Gregg Braden, as you may well know, I was off at a retreat over in Sedona just back a month ago. And it was fantastic. And Gregg Braden is such a super talented guy here for a very special purpose on the planet to communicate these things. And you know, one of the things that is very clear, and we've talked about this a lot for all the time we've been doing the live, is that we are creators. We are creators of our life, exactly as it is at the moment. Nobody else can take responsibility. It's all down to you. So we can't blame anybody, but you can congratulate yourself on where you are. The problem is that we've been encouraged to be unconscious creators and not realize that we are creating our existence. And what Pam is talking about here is that, yeah, we are creators, and individually, we're actually very powerful. Collectively, we're enormously powerful. So as we come together, and then we can also expand that yet further, because it's about using the vortices. It's about using the grids on the planet to actually amplify that energy yet further. And all of a sudden, this tsunami of love energy that Pam alluded to at the outset is absolutely going to happen. And it's not a question. It is going to happen. It's a question of whether you choose that that is the path for you, or whether this is not something that is for you this time around. We're entering a new 13,000-year cycle. This is what the Mayan prophecy was really all about. You know, this end times. And I'll just talk briefly about this, because the end times is what the Mayans have always referred to this for thousands of years. They've known this was coming. And in fact, if you look across any religious text, or the War Scroll, or the Nag Hammadi text, or whatever, it all evidences the time we're going through now. The book of Revelation, John chapter 20, 21, and I think, talks about the new earth. This is where we are heading right now. But Gregg talks about us being creators, and the fact that we have these mirror neurons, which exist within, obviously, within the brain, but also, we also know that there are many, many thousands of neurons in our heart, and that the heart is way more powerful in electromagnetic energy than the brain. The motherboard is the heart, right? The brain is a processor. This is where the real action takes place right here. So once you start to concentrate your energy, heart-based energy, with your motherboard, this is your connection to spirit. This is connection to the bigger you. And that's a beautiful thing. So he talked about us being creators, and the fact that it takes these mirror neurons we have. They don't understand the difference. The mirror neurons don't understand the difference between an actual event happening to you and an actual imagined event happening. So what this says is that within 72 hours, these little dendrites appear from the neurons, and they reach out and they reach other neurons, and they create a new neural network based off what you are focusing your energy upon. So you need to focus your energy upon the things that you want, because you are a conscious creator, and you have the ability to consciously create the life that you want. Okay, so this is Gregg Braden wisdom right here. Okay, and you know, it was so well put. You know, and he always provides it with the scientific evidence that backs this up as well. All the little slideshows showing those dendrites reaching out and creating that neural network. So you can imagine 72 hours to create that neural network. But imagine if you lived that life, your life the way that you want to. Imagine that life. Really immerse yourself in the feelings. And that's the important thing. You've got to feel it. You've got to emote it. You've got to know it's happening, but do it day in, day out, to a point where it becomes who you are. Jolé mentioned earlier, I kind of have certain things that have become who I am. It's because I have up here and all around me. If you could see this wall here, you'll see I have a massive written things up on flip charts that I have lived with now for 6 years. Most of it's been around me for 6 years. But when I look at it and I read down it, I know that's me now. 6 years ago, it was a bunch of words on paper that I wanted to be. Now it's who I am. So it's becoming this. It's not just thinking it, it's becoming it, and taking that into the heart and just allowing yourself to imagine it as if it has already happened, if it is already the life you are living. And the 12 universal laws will tell you, including the law of attraction to which we alluded, it is universal law that it will come to pass. And when we get together collectively, we can create that world of unspeakable beauty. And it's just so exciting. The other person that I spoke a lot about in recent times is Drunvalo Melchizedek. How do I always struggle with that? Oh, I've got his book here.
Melchizedek.
Melchizedek. Yeah, Drunvalo Melchizedek. Sorry. Anyway, I've been reading his books and I'm loving this. In fact, we've got one of our new community members from Germany. I know she's going to be watching this. I don't know whether she got to it live, but this is one of the first things she got into when she started working on the spiritual side a lot more, was to read the work of Drunvalo. And this is his stuff is amazing. Drunvalo has done an awful lot of work for mankind and for humanity. And if you watched the show last week, you will know that actually he was a walk-in soul exchange of many decades ago. So he came from a different planetary system into this physical body called Drunvalo to actually enact a lot of work with ancient tribes around the world, including the Mayans, including the Aztecs, including the Incas, including the Maoris, including the Native American Indians, all working on different ceremonies and rituals to work on the unity consciousness grid that surrounds this planet. And you know what? I'm going to spend more time. I think, Jolé, we need to do some time really focusing, and we'll do an entire program on Drunvalo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a very special guy. I'm just going to read a small passage from this book, just from the introduction of this particular book, which is the Mayan Ouroboros. Was the word, Jolé? But okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. All right. So the Maya believe that they have a responsibility to the world to provide the guidance necessary for humanity to make a change to perceive the one reality in a new way from one's heart. In other words, they wish to help leave this old world and enter a new world, which they believe is absolutely necessary at this time in history. So that is just a tiny passage of what is. This is the second of two books, really, which act in coordination. But honestly, one of the things that I've really come to respect Drunvalo for is the selfless sacrifice that he has done for humanity in creating the foundations for the world that is coming our way right now. And it's already been in motion for years now. And this unity consciousness is starting to blossom, and it will move exponentially. One of the things that Pam has spoken about is that once we get to November, and well, beyond November, that's when things really start to happen. So for now, it's not exactly business as usual, because it's still fairly chaotic, and it's going to get quieter, or seemingly quieter, between September, October, November. But then things are going to change. But there is a reason. Chaos is a prerequisite for change, because otherwise, why would humanity choose to change if you're not really pushed towards it? When people see you're at the play and you see the scenery collapsing around you, you realize it is only a play. And this is where we're going to see the scenery collapsing. It's a chance for us to come together and choose which train we're going to get on, and I know which train we're getting on, and I'm going to come back to that towards the end. But Jolé, I've said enough for the moment. I want to bring you in.
It was fabulous what you said. I don't really have too much to add other than that. She also spoke about, you have to demolish the old kitchen cabinets before you can put the new, right? And so sometimes that looks kind of nasty in the rebuilding phase. But we are always reminded of the story, or in Christianity or the major three religions, about how the Creator brought in the 7 days. And before the 7 days were made, it started out in chaos, right? And from chaos came those 7 days. So we know that on the other side of what is going to happen, there is beauty. And if we can just, like John, you spoke about aligning with the ley lines, of Mother Earth, or just connecting. And these are ways to begin, like, connect with other people. That's easy. And we're promoted to do that. But have you ever thought about connecting with and locking into the ley lines of Mother Earth, or where you are, or your experience, your community? These things are important. So really tap into your superhero powers, and believe in your ability to affect change.
Yeah, 100%. And really, I think that where we need to be heading now, Jolé, you know where we need to be heading.
Meditation. What I would like to do this time is, sometimes meditation is great, but what about real-time ability to deal with your situation? So today in our meditation, I'm just going to take you through, if you're in a moment, you want to drop into connection and that oneness, divine connection with other people. There is a simple meditation. So are you ready?
Yep, I'm going to start off our background screen here, Jolé, and it's all yours.
Okay, so as always, we're going to put our feet flat on the floor. Our palms are going to be face up on our thighs as we begin to breathe with the rhythm of our body. For those of you laying down, keep your feet on the floor for the first part of the meditation. Close your eyes and just relax. When you are asking yourself, how can I bring more love into my life, or how can I spread more love through me and the way that I do things, the easiest way is to imagine, create, or visualize yourself being in your heart chakra or your chest, opening it up like you would double doors, and sending out love, heart-shaped, like emojis. And you just see these going out into your energy field, covering your aura layer or your personal space. And then after that reaches a critical mass, you're sending these loving vibrations out into the universe. Now, you can always do this and then ground your energy, and your grounding cord is made out of heart shapes, beautiful. Your aura layer is heart-shaped. Your higher self is surrounded in a heart. And so all of you is just surrounded by this loving energy. And then to top it off, you'll bring in red from Mother Earth. Not a red as in necessarily creativity or like lava, but the red of the beauty of a flower, like a rose. That represents love in our environment, is a red rose. So if you can bring in the same color, the liquefy the energy of the red rose, and bring that into your feet, let it pool up the side channels of your legs. And then you allow for that heaven, cosmic, divine life force to come in. And everything within your body, your cells, your organs, everything that is moving through you is moving through you with love. Everything about you is heart-shaped. And you're moving through this world in the shape of a heart, in this beautiful red or pink, whatever represents unconditional love to you. And you stay in this, you hold this space for yourself to be this loving vibration for as long as possible. And then you just reconnect with this throughout the day. You close your eyes and you see your grounding cord built on love, your aura layer built on love. And throughout your day, you will be making decisions and choices which will allow you to come from a place of love and transformation. So once you do this, it's just about rechecking in to your energy and making sure that it is robust. meaning that your aura layer is still 1.5 feet, your grounding cord's connected, your heart is still moving, the doors are open, and the love is flowing. And you're still feeling in a way that is light and airy and maybe joyful. And these things will be attracted to you throughout the day because that's the energy that you are moving through. So take a deep breath in and exhale. And now I want you to command that all of you and your toroidal field is connected to the ley lines of Mother Earth. And you are connected to this nurturing energy, this loving energy, receiving the messages and the directives from Mother Earth as to what actions to take on this journey to help you reach your goals. And not only that, but to open doors and give you access. And those that you love, access to your highest good, because that's really what it's all about. So take another deep breath in, gently, let it all the way down to your gut. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Now exhale. As you just see yourself as one big ball of love, moving from a heart-centered space, and the brain is there to process the strategy and the movements for you to reach your goals, but you're coming from a place of love in the highest and best way with grace and ease. So we're going to take another deep breath in. We're going to exhale. Close your feet chakras. Close your hands and your crown. Let this beautiful energy settle within you. It's just all of you is heart-shaped. Every part of you is running off of love. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Love that. Thank you,
It's just a quick, loving meditation. That's it. It's not hard.
It's not, but it's, you know, it's so on message, and it's just, this is what it's all about. And, you know, one of the things I want to just end with is just like to say that, you know, we got the weekly going out, and thinking about the theme of where we were with this today, and this idea, we got the 2 trains leaving the station, right? You got to decide which train you're on. Okay. So
Yes.
what song would you imagine that we're going to play out with on the weekly tomorrow? Think about OJ's. Do you remember? Do you remember? People all over the world join hands on a love train. Love train.
People all over the world. Yeah.
That's
Join in.
On a love train.
That's
love
it.
Train.
Love train.
People all over the world. I'll point out that, you know, it may surprise you to hear I'm not actually a professional singer, but you know, honestly, that's a beautiful song, and I think it just strikes the right, because this is the train that we're going to be. This is the elevated planet community train that will be leaving the station, and when it comes to the parting time, and but this new 13,000-year cycle, this is where we're heading. And what they say, and I heard this, I found this quite interesting. Those that are not yet ready, you know, who still have the fear and the anger and the division energy going on, there is a different 13,000-year cycle for those. And I find that, you know, and why not, right? Because this is what I understand is the case, is that when people are ready, and there's no judgment with this, you know, for those that are not ready, that's okay. You know, everybody gets there. Everybody gets back to unity in the end. It's just a question of timing. So.
Absolutely. And also too, singing and dancing, if you're not doing that, please revisit, because that's one of the greatest ways to not worship, I don't want to say that, but to spread joy and love and expand, you know, especially with prosperity. Not enough of us are singing and dancing our way into our highest good. And that's another way to manifest. So don't stop singing.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, next time we come on, we're going to do some dancing, right?
Yeah.
Transatlantic dancing. Yeah. And Michelle made a point as well that Michelle Cordy says, I love that song. I sing it all of the time. So Michelle's on the train with us anyway. So thank you, Michelle. Love having you here. And Oh yeah, and I'm a big fan of Michelle's work. You won't be familiar with her work, Jolé, but she put out a lot of decent stuff over LinkedIn for the longest time. And I think that, you know, we would be happy to share some of her work on our Elevated Planet platform as well.
Absolutely. Maybe she'll join us for a show, huh?
Ah, you know, I think it could be in the stars. I do think
Yeah,
she is a
that would be
star seed
good.
as well, actually, Michelle. You're a star seed, aren't you?
Yes.
I think she is. But anyway, that's it. So newsletter goes out tomorrow with the edited, declunked version of this video. And if anybody wants to jump on our train, drop me an email to johndrew@elevatedplanet.life to get onto our distribution list. And, you know, come and join us for the ride. And thank you again. Michelle said, I loved all of this. I would love to. I am a starseed, and I knew that when I spoke to her going back a while ago, and I remember that coming up. And, you know, you definitely get that energy from Michelle. So cracking.
That would be nice.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, Jolé, as always.
Dawn. Thank you. Thank you, the Elevated Planet community. And don't forget, if you need support, if you need information, we have a Nos Populi community talk about connecting and oneness. We're here for you.
Yeah. So not sure if people would want to be like in my environment here, or I think that people might prefer the environment with the swimming pool in the background, the hotel, the golf course.
Yeah, look at the sky.
I'm bringing my clubs. I'm bringing my clubs now. Wonderful. Have a fantastic rest of your day, Jolé, and thank you to all our community, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Love to all.
Yes, absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye.